lives in her own little world.
Mine are wild.
Like one that's a wild child and the other.
Because I have one that's only 1 and one that's 2.
Oh, you fucking.
And then I have one that's probably 8 or 9, but he acts like crosses them
really?
and stuff. Oh yeah.
Well, that's good. They still like the energy.
Yes, so they're wild. There's Helen.
My older dog is just like,
I don't know my voice.
you can have my chew.
Yeah, that one looks a little shady there.
Hi, people. Take care of them. I don't see, this might be, this might be the murder chair. I'll sit in it. You can have that one. Okay, do this. Just try not to die.
I don't think I trust it.
Yeah. This is the one that.
Maybe get one of those other chairs.
Yeah, I can just sit on it. Oh, it's fine. I just won't make any sudden movements.
I always forget. Whenever I've been in that one, I forget, and all of a sudden it's like, whew.
I try to put it back there, but it usually makes its way back over here.
Yeah, 'cause there's 2 of them that are broken, and you just get rid of them.
To make it appear like we have enough chairs. How are you doing?
One of those days, join the club.
Is it time?
It's not noon.
Is it time?
No.
No, not yet. Almost.
It is still.
I'm Jeanette Swanberg.
I'm Nicole Burgess.
Nice to meet you. Are you John's daughter? Yeah. So is he pretty much in Florida these days?
No, he lives up here.
Oh, does
he's,
he?
he's pretty much retired.
Yeah.
Just does some small stuff, but he's up here. He's got a business down there.
Yeah, maybe we should start.
All right, go for it. Take the lead.
I'm not taking
Well-
it. Let's just get,
Since I'm the chairperson so far, we can call the meeting to order. Who wants to take the minutes?
If I can call a point of order, and certainly this is not personal in any way, Ms. Greenwald, but it seems to make sense for this body to, certainly, and I see that election of officers is down the agenda ways, maybe that ought to be put to the top. That would seem to make sense. And it would seem to make sense to have the chairperson be a person who is clearly a member of this commission.
But I am.
Oh, but you're not.
but you're not.
You are not.
No.
Let me ask a question here. We have the city attorney's office here. You gave us a letter that said Lee Gaston, Randy Moore, Ruby Mateos, Richard Pecora, Janelle Swanberg, and Henry Karp are members of this commission. Is that true?
Yes.
Is she a member of this commission?
No.
Okay.
But according to the Davenport Civil Rights Ordinance and according to the state of Iowa, in 2.58 to 0.40, appointments in terms of members, there's a whole list there, but it says, the mayor shall fill any vacancy on a commission occurring for a reason other than the expiration of a term of appointment by appointing an eligible individual to fill the remainder of the vacated term. The commission shall elect a chairperson, vice chairperson, such as other officers as it may deem necessary from the members of the said commission. All members of the commission shall serve without compensation. By that, we did not step down. Helen Roberson, myself, and Clyde Mayfield did not step down, so we did.
Yeah,
there
but
was
your
no
term is up.
vacancy.
Your term is up.
When the term is up,
It ended
unless the
November
person
30th.
steps down, there's no vacancy. That's according to the state statute and according to the city Davenport Civil Rights Ordinance.
Well, but it does seem, Ms. Greenwald, that your term ended a year ago, and other commissioners were then appointed by the mayor and were approved by the city council. And, really, this all boils down to the fact that this body has not been able to do business for an entire year.
Oh, I agree
The
there.
people of the city of Davenport deserve a fully functioning civil rights commission. And we around this table have it within us today to make that happen. And we would ask that those of you whose terms have expired simply allow those of us who are the newly appointed commissioners take our roles, allow us to serve the people of the city of Davenport. It's not fair to have these cases on the agenda every month for a year and have the people whose cases those are going without the justice that they're entitled to. There may be people there who are entitled to monetary damages or their jobs back. Are you willing, for some point, which I don't understand, to say that that's more, your point is more important than their rights and their compensation?
That's not what we're saying.
That's not what we're saying at all, and I think that you're talking to the wrong people. You need to go talk to the mayor, the city council, because the three of them were replaced illegally. This is the argument we've had for
Yeah,
an
but
entire...
that's passed.
It's not done.
It
I
is
have a
done.
lawsuit in court right now, and it's not done.
It's
They
done.
told us that it has to
What,
go to the
because
court.
they wrote a letter, it says it's done? I mean, come on, they also wrote a letter saying 15 things of charges against me that were untrue,
Well-
that were never investigated, that were never proven, but just because they wrote it, it's supposed to be fact?
And you know, you did the right
I
thing.
mean-
You did the right thing.
And the city didn't, because they're the ones who should have taken them to court to figure
They
this
should
all
have
out,
taken them
and they
to court,
didn't.
and they didn't do it.
So you're talking to
You-
the...
You should have filed an
No,
action
it's the
as
city's
certiorari.
responsibility
No,
to
the
take it to court.
city replaced you. If you didn't like what the city did, you could have done what Nicole did and filed for a writ of
We were
certiorari.
advised that it was the city that had to take it to court.
The city had to take it to court, and that's why we...
The
I would
right
think that
advice.
you received poor advice then.
And
And
this
Ms.
is why we signed a resolution in February that has never been revoked, so they are commissioners.
But the resolution, you know, this body can't sign a resolution and make something magically happen that isn't lawful. That's not how it
But it
works.
was a lawful resolution.
Well, but it doesn't have any meaning. It doesn't have the force of law.
Yes,
And
it does.
and you know,
If it's lawful, why doesn't it
Hold
have the
it,
force
hold
of law? It's ridiculous.
I'm going to suggest that the five of us approve the agenda with an amendment.
And he is definitely not a commissioner. He has sat out for a year saying I'm not.
I would
See,
make a motion
only
that
got
we
four.
approve the agenda
You
and
can't
that the
with
next
four.
item on the agenda be the election of officers.
You
Is
you
that
cannot
okay?
with four. He has sat out this entire time and said that he's not
I-
going
he's
to
a,
even.
he's a
I call for-
lawfully appointed
He's,
commissioner.
Yeah.
he's admitted that he doesn't know if he is for a year now. So how is he all of a sudden
Well,
Hey,
we're
a
here
he
lawyer?
was
Because-
nominated by the mayor and affirmed by
if-
the
so
council.
if he was affirmed-
that makes one.
So if he was
an
affirmed by the
official-
council, then why did he for an entire year say, I'm not going to make any decisions along with the other two that were with him?
And if I may speak, the only reason he said that is because none of us can
Because-
agree who,
So all of
who
a
are
sudden
the real
today,
commissioners at
because
that time.
he appointed
And
more
if I-
people,
Hold
that
on.
we can just be like, okay, I'm
Hey,
going to all of
hey,
a sudden be a
hey,
commissioner.
Hey,
Can I
She's-
speak?
Let Ruby.
Okay. And it's nothing personal, but the last group of commissioners, you weren't the chairman. It was Michael Leando, I was the vice chair, and Erie was the secretary. And so for you to say that you are the current chairman,
But mine
How did
was
we
different.
end
It's
up get
untrue.
appointed? If he was the chairman, how did he get appointed? Who appointed him?
He could have never been appointed because
he
we've
told-
never
when
had a
I came in
meeting.
here, he
Ruby,
said he wasn't. He said, I don't
Henry.
know who's supposed to do it, and they
I
didn't do it
propose
that
that
day.
we approve the agenda and elect officers. Are we agreeable to that?
So moved.
So moved.
you can
All
do
in
that.
favor?
I'm in favor.
Okay,
Aye.
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 Okay, now, so first off, we need
Three people and they quit. What is that? Get out of here.
a.
First of all, it was 5 people who voted for it.
Yeah. so
No.
we
Well,
got-
he doesn't count. He hasn't
No,
counted
no,
for a
I-
year.
we got-
We disagree. And
Okay,
if the,
but
He hasn't
and
voted
we
every
disagree.
entire year.
Yeah.
Take the
Just
vote
let it
again
go.
because I missed it. I only saw.
Let's have a
50.
nomination
Take the vote
for
again.
chairman
Just
of
take
the
it again.
Let's take the vote again. Okay.
Okay. All in favor of electing officers at this point, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That is-
And you
Who-
have
who-
those opposed.
And opposed? Okay. Next, who will we nominate for chairman of the Civil Rights Commission?
I would nominate Janelle.
Okay, Janelle has been nominated as chairman of the Civil Rights Committee. Are there any others nominations?
Oh, is there a second?
Is there a second to his?
I second.
Are you
Okay.
interested?
Yeah, I nominate Susan.
Okay, okay. All in
I
favor,
should-
you can't because you're not a member of the commission.
Like, you act
All
like
in
you know
favor
everything about
of
this.
Janelle being the chairman of the commission signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I turn this over now.
Opposed?
Opposed?
No,
You
No.
don't have a vote.
Because you
Wait a
say
minute, because
so.
you
No,
say
because
so,
the
you're
city's
not-
attorney
I don't care
says
what the
so.
city attorney says.
Well,
The city attorney's been wrong on
she
so
said
many
about
things.
Okay.
And you're not going
We're
to come
done.
here and yell and
Hold.
bully us. Like,
Hey, we're going to
Who
ignore
are you anyway?
Who am I?
Yeah.
I'm
I
Richard
mean-
Pecora, and my name is on the list
and where exactly do you live? Because your Facebook says you live in Bettendorf.
It doesn't either.
Yes, it does. I
Well,
just looked
look
at it
at
today.
Google my name. It's 5026 Amesbury Court.
I know
in
where you
Dallas.
live.
Okay, then don't ask the question.
Well,
Okay,
here.
you're in charge.
I would.
Oh, this was just.
Well, again,
I have another member here now.
Welcome,
Clyde
Clyde.
Mayfield.
Welcome, Clyde.
They
just-
have already taken a vote.
Why do
and
you claim that
this
you live
lady
in
here is
Bettendorf,
now
Iowa?
the
Because I
chapter
don't
president.
pay much attention to that.
You put it in there.
Well, it's not
All
a
right, can we-
official
If
document.
I
Give me a
can,
break. Give
if
me
I
a
can
break.
call this meeting to order now.
There's probably not going to be much
No,
order in this
and
There's
it-
meeting.
not going to be
again-
much order in this
and
meeting. I
again-
know that. Number one, he didn't even have a chance to vote.
He doesn't vote. He's not a member
Because
of the
you
commission.
say so?
No, the
I
city
don't care
says
what the
so.
city says. I
okay.
haven't cared what the city
I'm
said for
going
the
to-
last year because it's not true
I'm
what
going-
they're saying.
I'm going to ask that from now on, no matter what the sentiments in this room,
everybody.
that we keep our voices at a reasonable tone
Well, he
And
started
we-
with the loud
and
noise.
we not
weren't loud. He
interrupt
was.
people who are speaking.
Jesus.
And again, I emphasize the point. Nicole, your term has ended.
I have a lawsuit
I
in
understand,
court.
but you, on 2 occasions.
Where does it say that?
Your term when did your term end?
November. I was just.
This past November.
And it says that a term is not a vacancy just because it expires. We can
That's
read it
right.
100 times.
And
It's
I
clear
think
English.
that was
No,
a big
that's not
problem
what it
right
says.
there.
But
We were
again,
never told by the
you-
mayor or asked by the mayor prior to November of last year if we wanted to continue. He didn't notify us until December 12th. He called me on my phone and told me. He was supposed to tell me 13 days prior to that, said something to me 13 days prior to that. He never did.
Well, there's no,
And that's
there's
why the
nothing
big
in the
problem is.
ordinance that says he has to do it within
It
10
does?
days.
That's why.
No, there's not. There's nothing in
There
the
is. Yes, there
ordinance.
is.
There's a state statute.
We didn't
that
just make it up.
There's
I
a
mean-
state statute that pertains to elected officials. And we are not elected officials.
We are appointed officials.
So again, Nicole, you did the right thing when you didn't agree with the mayor's action. You did the right thing by filing for a writ of certiorari. And I understand that's on appeal, but on 2 occasions, you requested a stay, which would have allowed you to remain a commissioner, and you were denied those stays. So that means that whatever happens with your case is going to happen, but you no longer have a seat at this table as a current commissioner.
Janelle, I think to clarify, I think you all have been told that by the city attorneys.
I've read the court's order.
The appropriate action would be a quo warranto proceeding. So if you want to challenge someone's entitlement to an office, you have to file a quo warranto proceeding. That doesn't remove the incumbent. That would be the person who is saying they're entitled to the position. They have a duty to file it, or the city would have a duty to file it. That is not what has happened here. A writ of certiorari does not upset. That would be challenging the mayor's appointment. That doesn't challenge who has a right to office. The only way to challenge who has a right to office would be to file a quo warranto proceeding. That hasn't happened. And I think the appropriate thing, rather than everybody sitting around the table arguing, would be to get everyone together with the new mayor to figure out how to move forward, because this is not working. This is, I don't even know what this is.
Well, meeting with
this
the-
is,
I'm sorry.
well, figuring out how to move forward, because you have the existing lawsuit that Nicole has. Her lawsuit would bring up the exact same issues that Susie, Helen, and Clyde
No,
have.
it's very different.
No, it wouldn't, because even if her term expired, that does not necessitate of a vacancy. The only way you can appoint someone is if you have a vacancy to appoint them into, which is what the initial issue was. So we have the preliminary decision, which says there's a for-cause removal standard. So they're still waiting on determination to figure out whether or not they were removed for cause. So you have that issue going on. You have the issue with the 3 commissioners that started the controversy. And then you have 2 new sets of appointments that have occurred after that. So I don't know how any of us at this table would decide who is and is not a lawful commissioner without a court order to say so, absent some sort of discussion with the new mayor to figure out how to move forward. Because all this is doing is creating controversy amongst the people around the table, which isn't helping anyone.
It's not
us.
helping the people of the city of Davenport, and that's why I'm back to this. We around this table have it within us today to allow this commission to do its work, to serve the people whose cases are on this agenda. And they've been waiting, some of them, for an entire year.
And these cases
And
haven't
I
been,
don't,
I would like to clarify, the commission hasn't been non-functioning for a year, and these cases have not been on here for a year. That's not accurate.
well, why then are we looking, today we're asked to approve the minutes of July 9th.
That's not a year, though. It's been June,
So 6 months is okay?
and none of it is okay, but
No, it's
but I
not
don't think that
okay.
it's,
See, that's
it's
what
okay
the thing
to
is. No, it's
blame the
not.
people around the table.
I do
because
not
they have
seek
not
to put
created the
any
issue.
blame on anybody.
Right.
I think that we don't blame anybody for what's happened in the past, but we do need to shoulder the responsibility for the future.
Right.
We around this table have a responsibility for the future, and we are better than another year of chaos.
I
It's
agree
not-
with you totally on that.
I don't
And
think-
we've said all along that we would abide by whatever the courts say. And it's been in the city's right to take it to court, and they have not done it.
Well, Nicole did
But
it.
Nicole's
No.
case was different.
Different.
There was an attempted removal in Nicole's case, and she filed a writ of certiorari to challenge the mayor's action. They were not removed. There were just new appointments
Their
made.
terms ended and they were
But
replaced.
according to the ordinance, it says you can only appoint when there is a vacancy not occurring because of an expiration
That's
of a term.
not, that is
That's-
absolutely
Where's that?
not
Find
true.
it.
That is
So
absolutely
to
not true.
read directly from the ordinance, it says 3.58040. It says
That won't be.
the
a
mayor
case.
shall fill any vacancy on the commission occurring for a reason other than the expiration of a term of appointment by appointing an eligible individual to fill the remainder of the vacated term. The mayor attempted to appoint people on December 10th, which was a partial term. In addition to that, there has been an argument that this means the mayor can appoint people without council approval. The preceding sentence says all appointments shall be confirmed by the city council. So that can't be an appointment that's made without the approval of council, because it says
The term of
all.
appointment shall begin on December 1st
It
and end
says-
2 years later on November 30th.
But, aside from members of the gallery not
Occurring for a
being-
reason other than the expiration of a
Right.
term of
What-
appointment.
what-
That's English.
what
Like, can
this
you
pro-
explain how that doesn't
So
mean
we
what it
have-
This
means?
provision means in its
2 years
entirety,
later.
and it's a common, I mean, you know.
Other than
it's
the
all
reason
time.
It's
for
a
an
common term, but
expiration of a
it's,
term.
there's not, it's
The
not
mayor
common.
shall appoint members
Right.
to terms. The terms are 2 years. If there's a vacancy caused by something other than the end of a term, like somebody dies or somebody moves away or somebody quits, then the mayor fills that position.
Correct.
That's how it is read as a whole, and it makes sense.
That is the exact, if it's a vacancy occurring for an expiration of a term. The mayor, if the mayor just has the ability to appoint someone when there's an expiration of a term, there would be no point in that being there.
No, it's there because sometimes there's a vacancy caused by something other than the
Right, and the mayor would
termination.
just have the ability to appoint someone.
He appoints people at the end of their term.
Right, so.
Yeah,
if
and that's what he
has-
did.
Right, so if that were
But he
his
asked,
permission.
he asked first He's supposed to give you, you're supposed to ask first if you want to be replaced.
Where
And I've
is
been
that?
up here for 7 years, and I was asked every 2 years, when my term expired, every 2 years, they asked
think-
me if I wanted to continue. And I
Don't you
said
have to
yes.
reapply?
He did not do that until
don't.
the 12th, and it was too late, so
The-
And
it
I-
But it wasn't
automatically
too late.
extended.
It wasn't too late.
I, I think you
Well,
have,
excuse
there's
me,
an
just for a
intersection
second.
between state law, the city law,
State law, which state law?
state law that says when a vacancy occurs. So it,
But that applies, I mean, what are you looking at?
state law says a vacancy occurs.
Chapter
if
and
the-
verse, please.
We don't have it here in front
You
of
should
me.
have it in front of you if you're gonna argue it.
Well, I'm not arguing in a court of law, so we're just having a discussion. So the chapter is entitled vacancy, and it says a vacancy is created if the incumbent doesn't hold over. So you can't appoint someone to fill a vacancy that doesn't exist. And I think that has been the issue throughout this entire process, which is why there has been discord. So we have the city attorney who's been contacting individual commissioners and giving them legal advice and presenting themselves as counsel for the commission, which they aren't. The commission is an independent and autonomous board. So if the commission could only exercise powers at the permission of the city attorney, then that would totally dissolve the purpose of the commission. The commission is not independent if they're exercising their powers at the whim of the city attorney. That's not how the commission runs. That is not how it's ever been intended to run, and doing so would not only countervene the purposes of the city ordinance, but it totally would not be in compliance with state law.
Well,
So-
then we're back to the purposes of this commission. We, as members of an independent commission, I believe, and I submit, that we have the duty to learn all we can about issues that come before this body. We can listen to your opinion, we can listen to the city attorney's opinion.
You can
I
listen
can
to
talk to
anyone's
Ruby,
opinion.
she can talk to me, we're attorneys, and we can take whatever legal advice we want to take, and we have an obligation.
You have an obligation to make an independent decision, not
Yes,
at
we
the
do.
direction of someone else.
No, we're not, I don't
And
think,
so-
you
I
got
don't
some
think we're
strong
taking-
people in this room.
Well, I think
I
that we
think we're
just
taking
had a
directions from.
I don't think
Well,
we're
I think
taking
we just had a
directions.
letter read from the city attorney to say that the city attorney told us this, this, and this. The city attorney does not get to determine who the rightful members of
Exactly,
the commission are. That would
exactly.
be decided by a judge. And so if they have refused to vacate their seat, the appropriate way to challenge that would be a quo warranto proceeding. You can't just say, well, I'm just gonna move them over. That's not how it works according to the law.
Are you arguing that people can choose to hold their seat for life because they
No,
choose
no.
to vacate their seats? Then what's the purpose of terms? I mean, you know, when there's a term to an appointment, when the term is over, either that person is reappointed by the mayor and the city council, or that person is not reappointed
But
by the mayor and the city council.
That's not what
But
the law
that's
says.
Are you saying that the law says that people can hold their seats on this commission for the remainder of their lives if they so choose?
They can continue if they are an elected or appointed official.
They are not elected.
But they are
Says
appointed,
appointed.
so they're city,
Appointed,
they're.
elected
But they're not officials.
They are city officials, yes, they are, they're city officers, yes.
And this is
Yes.
actually something that has already
So-
been talked about, and they said they need to change this
I mean, and
ordinance.
if there was.
So I
It
mean,
would
they
be
know-
nice if the ordinance were more clear.
And they
Right.
said they needed to change it,
But-
and
but
so I
So
mean,
they-
obviously it's saying what
so
it is,
if
and they
you
want to
look-
change it to make it
If you look
different.
at Brooke versus Waddell, it clearly outlines that members of board and commissions are city officers, so that is a city official. So that is just a thing. So a vacancy, according to state law, is created when the incumbent doesn't hold over. So if term expires and the incumbent holds over, there is no vacancy.
But in this case, there were appointments. The
If you
terms
are-
ended, and there were appointments
And
of
it could
other
be-
people.
And your term could end if you have a replacement who's duly appointed. There is a question of whether or not they were duly appointed, and there's a question of whether or not they qualify for the office.
And what do you mean there? How could they qualify?
The state law says qualifying is taking an oath of office and you meet the term. the
Has
requirements.
anybody around this table taken an oath of office?
I think the prior
What agendas?
chair of the commission.
Pardon?
What agendas did you take the oath of office?
So according to state law, the
Where's
chair
where
of.
cite it? Cite it,
Cite what?
that we have to take an oath of office.
The Constitution, the Iowa Constitution.
Well, cite it, where is it?
Article.
Read it, read it.
Do you, I think you should probably be well versed in what the Iowa Constitution
Oh, you're
says
not,
if
you
you're-
can't, you don't
you're
have it, you
citing.
can't read it to us.
Do you want me to go and get it and read it to you?
Please.
I mean,
Yeah, please go
because I
get
don't
it.
think
Please
there's
go get it because this is.
I mean, when you
this
take
is
over a
scary.
new
But,
office,
and
you should
does
take an
the,
oath
and,
of
and
office.
does that, the Iowa Constitution, when it talks about an oath of office, talk about appointed positions as
And
well
so-
as elected positions?
and so
Or
does-
is the oath of office only administered to elected officials?
No, and so does the city charter. That's the same way police officers take an oath of office when they are hired. The mayor, it gives them an oath of office. So the mayor can give an oath of office, the chairperson of the commission can give an office, and I think they list out a few other people who have the authority to give an oath of office. So that, I mean, that just is a thing according to the law. And
That's a thing?
that's what the law says. It's not something that is being made up. That's what the law says. And so if there were questions about it, I mean, we could have answered it prior to now, but I did.
So why didn't you do
I-
something prior to now?
I
When
wouldn't
we
say-
were,
Years
when we
later.
were
Because we keep
nominated,
getting stuff just keeps
That's-
thrown at us all. I mean, I had the mayor call me, 3 weeks ago, asked me if I wanted to be on the commission. And then I come in here today and I told him yes.
This is
And what
creating-
happened?
Again, this is
And I'm
just
in here today and what are you guys doing?
creating confusion so that the people around the table are
I know,
arguing
it's just keep-
rather
it's just
than
keep
holding
it-
accountable the people who should be held accountable, and that's not fair to anyone.
I'd
Just
like
like
to-
we are having this conversation, puts us in an awkward position, and puts everybody else
Mr.
in an awkward
Gaston.
position.
I'd like to make a comment or two here. This is the 14th meeting by my count that I've attended where we haven't been able to accomplish anything. A few points. One is I believe that Clyde and Susan and Helen are sincere in their belief.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
They've been told a theory of the law that's been presented by Ms. Lacy. I happen to disagree with it.
I didn't present
May-
that theory.
May I finish
I
my
should
comment?
clarify. I
I'd
didn't
like to-
present
Finish his
that.
comment.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
let
that
me
we should
finish my
stop.
comment,
I
please.
think that we should
Please.
stop casting aspersions and making accusations that you don't know are true. So one of I
You
believe it
presented
was
that point of
Susie.
view several times in
Okay,
these
so then
meetings.
I would appreciate it then if you
Point
would
of
stop
order,
making
point of
order,
accusations
you
Point of order,
recognized
point of
him.
order.
about
Would you please?
what you believe
You can
I
speak,
said.
you can speak next, Latrice.
I don't, but I think that needs to be corrected.
You can speak
we
next. Well,
you
should
can
not
speak
be-
after.
But I think we should not be casting aspersions on staff.
You can
So we
speak
should
First of all,
not
you
be-
guys are not in
no.
charge, and if
We
he's going to
should
talk bad
not
about
be
her,
being placed in
then
this
she's going to
position
defend
to
herself.
argue with people. This is not fair. This is being done in retaliation for things that the commission has done, and this is not okay. I will not be, no.
Duly
this is
noted.
not-
Duly
This is not
noted.
appropriate. So I
Du-
would appreciate it, since you want to lead the meeting, for you to ask him to not make accusations towards myself or any other staff members, because
I'm-
that's not appropriate.
I made a point at the beginning of the meeting and asked everyone to keep a civil tone and to not interrupt others when they are speaking.
Okay?
Even when they're lying on you.
I mean, that's not okay. It just
Well,
isn't.
I'm sorry, I'm a commission member, you're not. This is the way we're going to run our meetings. We're going to be
She's not either,
civil,
so.
we're going to be civil,
She's a person.
and we're going to speak one at a time. So, Mr. Gaston, I recognize you again.
Thank you. I believe that the legal theories that have been advanced to support what Helen, Susan, and Clyde honestly believe are incorrect, that Randy Moore and I are legitimate members of this commission. Second point I would make is it is impossible to function as a commissioner if the staff director and other members of the staff do not recognize and acknowledge your role as commissioner. So there's little to nothing you can do to make anything happen effectively. So it's important that that issue get resolved. A third point that I would make is that the resolution of this isn't going to happen around this table. There's really, I believe, only two avenues for resolution. One is the judicial one, which will be lengthy. Nicole has pursued her case. The city, for reasons that I've never understood, has refused to take legal action to enforce their position that the terms ended for Helen and Susan and Clyde. Given what commissioners get paid, I've been unwilling to invest my own funds in seeking to defend my role in this commission in
That's
the
a
court of
problem.
law.
Yeah.
Nicole's made another choice.
Yeah, good
that
on
she
you,
has.
yeah.
But there's also the possibility, I think, of a political solution at this point, in that the city council and the mayor, the elected officials, have the ability to rewrite statute. I have some recommendations of statute changes that I think could help move this along. I'm happy to share those with anyone who is interested. The last point, though, is there's a bigger issue than who serves on this commission. This community has been divided by this issue for quite a while. It does impede the work of the Civil Rights Commission, but there's a broader issue. Nationally, we have a government that's partially controlled by parties who are trying to roll back civil rights gains of the last half century. Meanwhile, those of us in this community who largely would share the desire to protect those gains, if not extend them, are at odds with each other. So I think it's important that this get resolved so that we don't have this kind of division impeding the protection of civil rights in the community. I've asked in the past that those who are contesting the city's position and the city cooperate together to seek a judicial resolution. Given the fact that almost a year has passed since I first made that proposal, I think a political solution by changing the statute would be a happier one. I will share with the new mayor and the council my thoughts on it. I certainly welcome the input of others in the community. I'm glad to see, you're Mr. Peacock, is that right? No? You're not.
I'm sorry.
Are you Pat?
I am.
Yeah, and you will be an alderman shortly, is that correct?
That's true.
Good. I think it's important that the council and the mayor be involved in getting this resolved so we can go forward rather than exacerbate the hostilities that have developed over this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gaston. Latrice, did you have more to say?
I think he just repeated the same thing that I said, that it needs to be resolved.
I think we all agree that it needs to be resolved. The question is how. And I guess my concern, Lee, about the ordinance, however the ordinance might be changed, it's not going to be retroactive, so it's not going to do anything with respect to the people who are already conflicted about their terms.
It could if the part of the statute resolution changes the terms of office, which I think also should be done. I don't think it's right, and this is not any disagreement with your appointment, but I don't think it makes sense to have the mayor appoint people for 2 years just before he leaves office and impose those appointments. And that's been that way for going back to
Since
the beginning.
Yeah.
I would reset the terms so that a newly elected mayor about 3 to 6 months in would appoint 4, and then a year later would appoint 3 more. So you would have some overlap, but you would get rid of this extensive overlap that we have today. I would also clarify the language that has been used to justify the position that Susan and Helen and Clyde are still on about the phrase temporary. And I think that's just a badly phrased sentence. It meant to give the mayor the power to appoint a vacancy to the end of the term.
Interim appointments.
But the way it's phrased, it's been used to justify a different interpretation. I would fix that. And there's 2 or 3 other things that I think might be usefully done to make the statute work more effectively.
And I would clarify, there is no reason for it to be in there to explain that the mayor can appoint if there's a vacancy. If the mayor has authority to appoint board and commission members, if there is a vacancy on that board or commission, then he can appoint someone. That sentence is not needed. The purpose of having an independent board or commission is that they are the decision-making body over a certain area of law within the municipality. When you have an independent board or commission, their terms typically overlap an the appointing authority's term. They don't coincide with it. So one mayor during one term should not be able to overturn the entire commission. That doesn't make sense. If the mayor wanted to appoint, let's say, I don't know, Klan members, the mayor gets to appoint 7 Klan members to the commission. That doesn't make sense. So if the mayor, according to the way that this is being interpreted by you all, if the mayor can just appoint new people when the term ends and there is no way of protecting the purpose of this office. He can appoint 4 people during his first year and 3 people during his second year, and then the entire commission is controlled by Klan members for the next
Well, they
year to
presumably
2.
wouldn't be approved by the council.
Well, but how does the council know? Because the council doesn't, that's the thing. The council doesn't review these appointments. They don't do anything. They just get a list and it's just standard operating procedure that they just automatically approve people. There is no time for, so with a Senate appointment, the senators get to review them. They get to decide whether or not they're going to vote in favor of that person. That's not the way that it works here at the city. So
Well-
it doesn't even make sense that that would work that way, especially with the quasi-judicial and quasi-legislative purpose of this commission. The commissioners are interpreting the city's law. They are enforcing the city's law. They are drafting administrative rules to say how the law should be interpreted. There is a certain level of expertise and independence that is required to serve on the commission. You need to be able to understand the law so that you're not taking what someone tells you as what the law means, as your understanding of what the law means. You should be able to read and understand the law independently of what anyone tells you. And that has been how the commission has run. The commissioners go out and receive training. There is a significant investment in the knowledge of our commissioners. And that is why they have never just been removed or pulled out of office in this way. This is the first time that this portion of the ordinance has been confused. Every other time that someone has come up for appointment, the mayor asks, do you want to continue serving? If they do, then they allow them to continue serving. If they don't, then the mayor seeks to work with the chair of the commission to find new people. That has not happened here. And this is the first time that there has been confusion about how that portion of the law.
And if I could just say, we're back to Rabbi Karp's point. The ordinance seems to say that the mayor is vested with the obligation to appoint people to the commission. He or she gets to decide who will be appointed. The alderpersons decide who to approve.
No.
What point is there to term limits if you just get to act for life? And I would say, I mean, I've been on a lot of boards and commissions, I think we all have. It's not good practice to have the same people sitting around the table for decades. It's good to rotate people through to get new
Right.
people in and new blood and new life, and that's just good organizational structure.
It would be good if you cycle 1 or 2 people in and out, but
Yeah,
not
but
the
you just put on
entire. If you don't know what
70
you're
people,
doing,
you have
how
no
can you?
idea.
But I mean, how can you? That's not new blood. That's
Well,
creating
we
confusion.
need you presumably will train us in civil rights law. I recognize Nicole.
But you have to also understand, by replacing all 7 of us, we have cases that we have to go back on that you guys would have no idea, could never even discuss. It was in closed meetings.
Give us a chance, we'll do it.
No,
It's on rulings that we've made that they want to know how we ruled that way, and it was in closed session. The tapes only are kept for a year. That's gone. You couldn't even listen to it. So how are you guys going to ever know what was in our minds on how we ruled on something?
Well-
And I also don't think it's in good practice. You know, I get what you're saying about the ordinance and the whole people staying on for life and stuff, but I also don't think that it's in good practice that a mayor, and you guys can have your own opinions, would take this entire commission and dismantle us when there was no cause, no reason, except for the simple fact of retaliating against Latrice. And I got the floor.
I just took
So-
it about.
So, and you can say what you want, but my suggestion is you do some homework on it, and I'm sure you guys have done some. But what is reported in the media, what it comes from the city over there, is not the facts. There's straight from Maria Dickman's mouth. QC Uncut in October. She did an interview 2 hours long. If you haven't listened, I suggest you do. First of all, she's a very racist person. Second of all, she actually straight out said, the reason that we got rid of those 4 and fired them is because they failed to punish her when she got arrested for assault. Plain and simple, out of her mouth. This is why we did this. Not because we were ineffective, not because he wanted new blood out there to take over this commission. It was because we didn't do what the city wanted. Out of her mouth. I mean, you can listen. I'm not making this up.
So right there, everything after that should be.
I've gone to the city council meeting and actually said this, like, it's retaliation. So I don't think that's in good practice, you know, if we want to talk about changing the ordinance and stuff. Should the ordinance be changed? Maybe. I mean, that's fine. But how it is right now is how it is, and the reason that the city has never taken this to court, in my opinion, is because they know they will not win. Plain and simple. They've had a year. I mean, an entire year to take care of this issue. And we come out as the bad people because it's never reported fairly on what's going on. And so we come out as these bad people that are not serving the public. I have dedicated 9 years of my life to this commission.
Yeah, and I'll
so I
take
mean, it's
7
not
years.
like I come here on my lunch break, you know. So it's not like I don't care about what's going on here. But I refuse to step away, and I refuse to give up to a corrupt government.
Well, and you know, I think we all honor your service. We thank you all for your service. We appreciate your service. We're all around this table because we care about civil rights in this community. That's why we're here. We're all here for the same thing. The question is, how can we work as a commission for the people? That's the question. And I'm back to, this seems to be a good juncture at which whatever bad blood or ill feeling there has been, there's a new mayor. Let's put the bygones behind us. Let's not cast any blame. Let's get beyond that. Look above that to what we can do to make this commission work. We could do that today.
Are you done? Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Are you done? For your point, it has never been an issue that the commissioners are serving lifetime terms.
No.
Everybody, there has never been an issue where people are say, well, I want to just keep serving forever. So the fact that 60 years in, we've never had that be an issue speaks to the fact that there's no concern with the process as it has worked.
But you seem to be saying that if you say at 2-year increments, I want to serve for the rest of my life, you could do that.
What the mayor has always done is work with the commission chair and say, these people are coming up for their term is ending. Do they want to continue serving? Do they not? And people have been willing to step away. There has never been the issue that has come up. So it's not a matter of someone just suddenly there's this issue that has never occurred before. It's because it's being done not in accordance with the law.
No.
To your issue,
I'm sorry.
we met with the mayor-elect Matson, and he has expressed, Susie and I, and he expressed a willingness to sit down and meet with the commission to figure out a way forward. And I should, because we don't know who's actually on the commission, just meet with everyone to figure out a way forward that everyone is either okay with, or we can see a way of moving forward to
Well, why can't we do that now?
So
He's
I
not,
have a question.
he hasn't taken
Well,
over.
you have to
I
wait till
recognize
Tuesday.
Ruby.
So if you and Ms. Greenwald went to, the newly elected mayor, why is it just Susie and you? Why did I not get an email or, any type of communication saying, do you want to meet with the newly elected mayor? Why was that?
Were you at the meeting last month?
Yes.
So you heard Susie when she requested me to contact the mayor to request a meeting?
And when was the meeting? Never heard.
Well, she asked for me to set up a meeting with him for us to meet with him. So if you wanted to attend, you definitely knew about it, and you could have said, I would like to attend that meeting.
Never knew where the meeting was.
But
or
you heard
when.
her. But you heard her request that I set up a meeting with him. So if you wanted to
Don't
participate,
expect people to do your
you
work
could
for you.
have
You have to do your work
Okay.
participated.
So
I mean, it wasn't a
I was
secret.
just thinking, you and Susie, but the rest of us just.
Well, at that point in that meeting, you
At
could have
that
said,
point,
hey, I would have liked
yeah.
to have attended that. And
Yeah.
But it would have
she
been
let
nice
you
to
know the
invite the
information.
rest of the members.
Well, but that's not what was occurring. Susie requested a meeting, not the rest of the members, and she did it in the public meeting. She requested it during the public meeting, so it's
So
not
anybody
like
could have said, hey,
no
I
one
would like to
did.
attend, and they would have let them know the information.
Learn,
Well,
learn
in the
how what
future,
you're doing works, and then you'll
could
be
you
able to do
invite
it, I think.
everybody on the commission to a meeting like that?
Who's that?
I think if there's a meeting with everybody, it would be a public meeting at that point, and it would be a published meeting. So I don't get to schedule
Well-
meetings with the commission. That I don't have that authority. within the ordinance to schedule a public meeting or to
But
call a
don't-
public meeting. So
Don't you take your direction from the commission?
right. So Susie is.
I requested the
From my
meeting.
knowledge, she's a member of the commission. So she
On what
requested a
basis do
meeting.
you say that?
Well, let's not devolve into that.
Yeah,
You know, if I might say something. You know,
I recognize Ms. Greenlee.
thank you. Lee, you said that Latrice, I would brought up, I went and studied the different laws that, and I brought up the fact that unless we stepped down, there wasn't a vacancy. So that was, I drew attention to that. I'm the one that asked for a meeting with Mayor-elect Mattson, and he agreed to it. I was in the hospital at the time, and I did it through via telephone conference call. At the meeting, I left the hospital, came for the meeting, then went back. They were pretty cool about that. But anyway, Mr. Mattson is more than willing to work with the commission. We have to get this straightened out. I agree totally, 100%. And we have said from day one, it goes to court, we will abide by whatever the court says. We have no hesitation. The three of us, we're in full agreement with that. When the whole situation started, it was a fiasco, as you well know. The mayor just, boom, announced that we were no longer commissioners, but he never asked us if we wanted to continue on or anything, which is the standard procedure to do. We stayed on, because like Nicole said, there are several cases pending. There's one that's being remanded back to the Civil Rights Commission that the new members will not know what's going on. And depending on what happens, there's liable to be a major, major lawsuit against the city and the Civil Rights Commission if that doesn't get addressed properly. I hate to see that happen because the city's going to be hit with a bunch of stuff in the future.
And when's the last time it was addressed, if I can ask?
Pardon
That
me?
case, when's the last time it was addressed?
What, 2 years ago, I believe?
By the commission?
Yeah,
Because it's been in
Yeah,
court.
I believe so. I believe it was.
year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah, it went up through the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah,
I
so
think-
it's being remanded back from the Supreme Court. That's going to present a problem for people.
But what I hear several of you saying seems to be it was common practice, not the law, but it was common practice to ask commissioners if they wanted to continue. And I understand that that may have been the practice, but I don't see that that's the law. It seems to me that the mayor has the prerogative to replace people for cause or without cause at the end of a term. That's what a term is. Otherwise, why even list a term, right?
I understand what you're saying. Except for in the independent commission like the Civil Rights Commission, if somebody steps down, then that makes a vacancy. If they don't step down, there's no vacancy, so no appointment can be made
And
at
this is
that
actually,
point.
I mean, this is actually,
Wrong.
It's,
this has
Well,
actually
I-
been
I-
addressed by the city saying that they need to change the ordinance. Why
Yeah,
would they
and
change
we-
it if it wasn't that way?
Well, because we've been sitting around for a year not doing a
I
darn
know,
thing.
and we've been telling them, change it then. Go in and vote
We've
and
been saying, change
it.
it, take us to court, do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
We do nothing but threats.
We're back
Threats.
to, are you saying, you three, I guess you four, are you saying that you are willing to hold up the works for another entire year?
Well, hopefully it won't be a year.
I'm saying that I'm not willing to step down because of a corrupt mayor. That's what I'm saying. That's what I've said over and over.
Well, and he's gone, if you're talking about Mayor Cliff.
And,
He's
and,
gone.
and so I've done this fight for a year to just because Mattson came in and be like,
You still have a
okay.
case pending, and you may make very good law. You make good law that says that commission members can only be terminated for cause. You know,
I mean, you know, there's
that's what your fight seems to be about at this point. and that's-
there's a lot of what my fight is
that's
about, and it's
still-
the corruption of the fact that even my firing letter that I got that was released, I was fired through the media before I was fired to myself. I found out in the media. And then to
You're
come,
just asking her to forget that.
then to come to find out that the mayor forged alderman's signatures,
Yeah.
which is a known, I mean,
That's
it
fact.
it was under oath by Mike Manson. I was at the deposition. He said, I did not sign that. He forged my signature. So either Matson's a liar and we just elected a liar to the office to follow our corrupt mayor, or Frank Klipsch is a corrupt mayor who forges signatures. It's never been addressed. I do like Matson, but I am not okay with the fact that he did not have a backbone to stand up for that. And I'm sorry, but that's not something I'm willing to walk away from and that's saying let the city do whatever they want to me.
You shouldn't.
I mean, they've threatened to fine me, throw me in jail, you name it, they've threatened it. Like, they actually released my firing letter to the media where it published my entire address for the entire world to hear. This stuff is not stuff I'm willing to walk away from.
And we're not asking
You
you to
shouldn't be
walk
asked
away
to
from
walk
your
away.
lawsuit or to walk away from
And so,
your
yes, I guess I'm
service.
saying I will hold it up for another year if I have to.
And not do any work.
I'm waiting to do the work. Why don't you all step aside then? I mean,
Right?
why not?
Because we're really opposed.
Well, why are we stepping aside? See, you don't have an
Point of
answer for
order,
that.
point of order,
Point of order.
here. I guess what I'm saying, Nicole, is that you have a lawsuit pending, but you didn't receive a stay. You were terminated and your term has ended.
And it also said that I was supposed to be terminated with cause. There was no cause. There was no investigation.
And
There was
that's
no
being litigated.
pre-termination hearing.
But when you don't get
And-
a stay, you
and the-
don't get to keep your seat at the, you don't get to stay on the commission.
To clarify, if there is a for-cause termination standard, you're entitled to a pre-termination hearing, so your termination does not take effect until
All that's
after.
being litigated.
It's
When
not.
your
But
term,
no.
when your term has ended, you're
No.
done.
No,
I
her
guess,
term-
I guess we don't agree on that.
Her- Okay, so
Are
we're
you
not
arguing
interrupting
with
each
the lawyer
other,
here?
so we.
Really?
She is a lawyer.
She's not a
She
civil
knows
rights
more than you
lawyer.
do, I can promise
Hey,
you
could
that.
he shut up?
Excuse me, sir.
We don't
You're,
talk to our
you're
public
not
like
on
that.
this commission.
Well, he shouldn't
There's
be
an
talking to us
opportunity
like
for
that. Speak up as a public if I
yeah,
want to.
yeah.
Later.
Later, there is a point in the
Point of
in the,
order.
in
Well,
the,
first of all, I say we don't talk to our public that way at all. And
Yeah,
second
you're
of all,
screaming.
none of we're not even saying this is a legal meeting, so he can talk whenever he wants.
Right.
There's no public comment, which I also liked in the agenda. I have a question about the agenda that you guys put forth that you wanted to be on here. How did you guys all come about that? How did you all discuss it? Because you can't discuss an agenda and meet outside of having a public
Right, but
meeting.
You did meet, didn't you? That was illegal.
So how
No.
You
did
shouldn't be here anyway.
how did you
excuse me, sir.
how did you all come to this agenda that you emailed to the office?
I did not.
It said that you
Any
guys
input
all
in the
wanted
agenda.
this.
It said the three of us, and that's not, and it has to
And
be
second of all-
for it to be an open meetings law.
Second of all,
But that
That's not
any
true. But
member
anyway.
of the commission can request
second of all,
additions
I do have
to
a
the
question
agenda.
about the addition to the agenda that you guys put for the public presentation part. So we're going to restrict the public now to just they get 5 minutes to speak.
We haven't reached that part of the agenda, so.
Why I'm just asking, is it something you guys wanted on it? So
Well-
now our public only gets 5 minutes to voice an opinion on anything that they have a concern over? That's all they're worth is 5 minutes of your time?
That hasn't even been addressed yet.
But it was on your agenda that you emailed to Beth that you wanted on here.
It bears discussion.
Why? So you're telling me that if someone has a civil rights issue that they want to come here and talk about, they're
not give
only
them
worth
5
5 minutes of your time?
It is a common practice.
Well, we're not
on
a common
boards and
commission, so
commissions
everything's just going to be common
to
here, right?
To say
Wow.
that individuals can speak for
Wow.
certain, otherwise, there's the potential for the public to speak for 2 days.
Okay.
Well, but that,
If it takes that.
Exactly.
you know,
Well,
but then you're going back to the same thing. You're saying that you said that, well, it's just been where the mayor would call and say, okay, did you want to carry over? Did you want to drop your commission? You're just saying the same thing, that with the 5 minutes, that's a common courtesy, or not courtesy, but a
Common practice.
Common practice. So it's the same thing, only a different wordage.
well,
And I,
nothing's been decided, and
No,
it's
I know,
not,
but
and
I'm
it's
just-
not on the
but that's-
agenda.
That's what I'm saying, though, you know, it's still, you're saying common practice both ways. Well,
to clarify the issue with Nicole, if you have a for-cause removal standard, which the preliminary decision says that there is a for-cause removal standard, just as there is a for-cause removal standard with the state Iowa Civil Rights Commissioner. So there's extensive case law that our ordinance has to be has to have the exact same procedures as the state law does, and the state law requires that there be a for-cause removal standard. Also, it's common law knowledge that any independent or autonomous commission, the commissioners don't serve at the whim of the appointing authority. There's a for-cause removal standard. So then if you look at Waddell v. Brooke, if you have a for-cause removal standard, you have a pre-termination hearing. Before that pre-termination hearing, you're not removed from office. So
Until your
they-
term ends.
So that takes you back to the previous issue of if people were appointed when there was no vacancy, then was their appointment valid? So that creates a second issue with the first round of 4 appointments to replace them. And then if Nicole's term ended November 30th, 2019, that goes back to the issue that started in the first place is what does the ordinance mean?
Her term ended.
But
So-
that would be a decision for a judge to make. That's not a decision for anybody around the table.
When was
to
she
make.
appointed?
Her renewal was 11/30/17 and it would expire, or 12/1/17 through 11/30/2019.
Right.
But if she never vacates the position, then does she continue serving?
Her term ended by its term.
But that's not
That's
what
up
the
to
ordinance
interpretation.
says. And that
That's why
has
we
to
need a
be-
judge to decide
Right,
who's
so it takes
interpreting and right.
It goes back to the first issue, which was with the first three. That's why the continuous appointments has done nothing but exacerbate the confusion around who exactly constitutes the commission. And
Well-
to determine who constitutes a
That was
body,
mad 'cause
you
Latrice
have to
was
file a
very worried
quo warranto
about that.
proceeding. And the city's attorneys know that. They're depending on us not knowing what the proper procedure is to determine title to office. If they don't know it, then they should know it. But they have repeatedly said that the proper procedure for them to file would be a writ of certiorari. And
Well-
that's not the proper procedure. There is extensive case law that says if you are challenging someone's right to title to office, the only way to challenge that is through a quo warranto proceeding.
And in my, as I understand the city attorney, they have asked the county attorney to bring a quo warranto.
Right. And he's
Rule
declined.
1.1302, by whom brought. The county attorney of the county where the action lies has discretion to bring the action, but must do so when directed by the governor, general assembly, or the supreme or district court, unless the county attorney may be a defendant, in which case the attorney general may and shall, when so directed, bring the action. If on demand of any citizen of the state, the county attorney fails to bring the action, the attorney general may do so, or such citizen may apply to the court where the action lies for leave to bring it.
Right.
So it's not, the city, as I read it, the city doesn't have standing to bring a quo warranto, do they?
The city could ask.
No.
The city could ask him to bring it.
They
The
have
city-
done.
Right. That has never been conveyed to this body.
Well.
Also, any of the people who are challenging the title to office could bring it, a
It
citizen.
was conveyed to this
So,
body because Janelle
it-
knew it. She's on the
it-
body.
It was not, it has never been conveyed. So
Yeah, I've never
Well, I
heard
guess
that.
you're learning it now.
No, I knew it, that was the process to do it, but they've never conveyed to anyone
Well,
here that they have done that.
They've tried.
But the people who are saying that they are entitled to office could bring it, and they haven't. And I don't know has that been explained to you? Because you certainly keep saying the city hasn't brought an action. So
That was never explained to me.
just as he's saying that he's never been told that, he would be someone who would be a citizen to bring the action.
Have you told him
challenging-
that?
I just found out about it because I was asked to look it up at the last commission
So you
meeting
didn't
that
know
we
about
had.
quo warranto?
I don't do this area of law.
So
I was
civil
asked
rights
by
really is your expertise.
That's been that's
Yeah.
what I do for the office is to interpret the civil rights law.
So then
I
we're
was
back
asked
to,
by the
then we're back to
commission.
Lee. I mean, none of us, I don't think, wants to hire an attorney and pay out of our pockets to bring a quo warranto.
And I don't
Leave
think
them.
that would be an appropriate
Step down.
expenditure of commission funds because
Oh, I don't
that
think, I don't
he's
think.
challenging their right to office, so they are still holding the office as the incumbent because they're holding over. So he's
That's one
challenging-
interpretation, yeah.
Well, no, that's how the quo warranto proceeding works, is that the incumbent is refusing to vacate the office. So they're still serving, and he's saying, I don't want them to be
Well,
serving.
he's the incumbent, and they're trying to hold
He's
over.
not,
That's the other
because
way
he's
you
never-
could look at it. That's the other way you could look
No,
at it.
that's not
how
true.
we're looking at it.
That's not how the law looks at it.
Judy
So
Schauber
if-
served 11 years without ever being sworn. She's testified to that in public recordings.
No, I think.
I would,
I recognize Lee.
I guess I wasn't talking. There were no interruption thing.
my patience for remaining in this conversation is rapidly
Leave then.
dwindling.
Bye.
Since
Nobody
this is
wants
number
you.
40, hello, Brian. So I'm not inclined to hang around a lot longer because I don't see we can make progress here. Because of the length and cost of a judicial resolution, I think a political solution is also a possibility. That depends upon the elected officials of the city being willing to do what would need to be done to clarify the law, determine the terms, determine the incumbencies, and move forward. I don't consider myself a legal expert in that kind of procedure, and the city attorney might have a different point of view, and I think that's worth exploring, given the complications. As far as standing goes, I've assumed for some months that I would have standing to pursue it, but because of the cost, I haven't been inclined to do so, and you said something that made me think the city cannot pursue it.
Well, I just read you who can bring, by whom brought.
Mhm.
County attorney, or if on demand of any citizen of the state, if the county attorney fails to bring the action, the attorney general may do so, or such citizen may apply to the court where the action lies for leave to bring it, which would mean the court would have to grant leave to the citizen, and who knows whether even that would be
Well, that
granted.
would be me in this case, I
Yes,
suppose.
yes. On leave so granted, and after finding bond for costs in an amount fixed by the court, with sureties approved by the court, the citizen may bring the action and prosecute it to completion.
Yeah, and my appetite for taking
There
that
has to be a reason
route,
the county attorney-
No,
Isn't
I mean,
real
nobody's
high.
asking you to. I don't think any of us wants to do
I
that.
think the council and the mayor, I believe, could be mistaken, but I believe the council and mayor would have the statutory authority to make the changes necessary in order to get this commission functioning again. It would be unusual, but we have a very unusual situation
Well, and
that's
again,
persisted for a year.
I don't think it would be retroactive, so.
And I don't know that it would matter that it be retroactive as long as
that's-
you
that's why we
establish
just
new
wanna get
commissioners
something
and new
done, that's all.
terms and the new commission takes off.
I guess the other point is that, you know, we around, the four of us can do the business of this commission.
5 of us.
Well, the five of us, but, you know, certainly the four of us.
Yeah.
So that's the other
I wanna know where
alternative, is that we can just, we can
What's the line?
proceed.
But you have
Well, can I make a motion, please?
Oh, she's back?
No, I
He's
think
gonna
she-
make
May
a
I make
motion
a
right
motion?
now.
do that the last
It will
time.
be difficult.
She
She refused to.
No, she.
Latrice
she
would
said that in the
refuse
letter.
to let us do
So why
what
is
we
it
want to do.
She's not on the commission.
Right.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, but, you know,
I don't know.
I'd like to make a motion.
the
well,
commission
I
can act
recognize
without-
Pastor Pecora.
Sure.
I move that we adjourn, that we gather for a special meeting on Thursday at noon, and that at that time, we will proceed with our, in the conference room over at the police building where we're supposed to be meeting anyway now, so that we'll meet there at noon on Thursday in the conference room at the police station, and we will take up our agenda and get it done.
Why we gotta,
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion?
When did the meetings get moved?
They haven't
at
been.
noon at the police department?
I want to know when the meetings got moved.
I think the commission can decide where they will meet
I
and
thought
when
you
they will
just
meet,
said at
what
noon
day
at the
they will
police
meet.
department, isn't that what you said?
Doesn't it have to go on the agenda?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't just change it.
Just
It's
ask
on
them
the
why-
agenda.
It's the
where
next
we're meeting
meeting,
and
it's the
why.
last item.
You don't have to vote on it. 3 commissioners or the chair or vice chair can request a special meeting. You don't have to vote.
You have to have 24 hours.
I can't make that meeting.
Well, what time?
Should we finish
I was talking about,
electing
no, I was
officers
talking
then,
about when,
since I
like
know we
moving
have
them.
I
the chair.
can't.
Yes, let's do
get
that.
a
Let's do that.
retirement ceremony.
The regular meetings.
Yeah.
At what
Yeah,
time?
that's not.
You can't
Hold
just
up
move
on the
them.
air, let's go at noon.
I could be there 1 o'clock.
See, look, he
How about
already has
meeting at
something more
11:30?
important than the
11:30?
Civil Rights Commission to do.
My wife's retirement, everybody has family. and your family
Well, tell
is
him.
supposed to come first.
Tell him. He's the one making this special meeting, and I don't see why you have the same thing. Same thing will happen.
The motion fails.
The motion for the special meeting?
Yeah, because I was assuming this.
I
second
don't think that
occurred-
the city's attorney is supposed to be directing how the
Well, I'm
commission does
recognizing
the
the
meeting,
city attorney.
but she doesn't get to direct how the commission.
I'm asking her
and-
opinion on
And I
this.
would like
Okay,
to
so
clarify.
she's gonna randomly talk, then I'm gonna randomly
He
talk.
did a
too.
motion
How's that
to
gonna go?
adjourn, so I don't know how
point at
there's
me.
any
I'm not a
further
child.
action.
There
I'm
was-
not a
that
child.
wasn't
Don't
the
point at me
motion.
like that.
Didn't he just?
He
do
did make a motion to adjourn, which means
Yeah.
the meeting's
So
over.
I-
You can't-
I want to make a motion that we finish electing officers.
You can't make a motion after he just made the motion to adjourn.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
It was, he was leading up to it, but he never got there.
Oh my God. He just went off into something else, into another meeting and all
So
that.
what's your motion?
So my motion is for us to finish electing our officers. I know Janelle will be our chair, but we also need a vice chair and secretary. And so at least the 5 of us can move forward and
Let's,
do the business.
is there a second?
Second.
Discussion among us?
No, it was never, the meeting never was called to order.
I have
It was.
something to say.
Okay.
You know, I'm probably
It-
have been here the longest, 12 years as a commissioner. And it's a circus right now. First thing that I look at is how did we get into this situation? Well, this commission worked like a fine machine for many years, and there are people in the community that do not like the job that it was doing, meaning that it was efficient, it did a great job of making good decisions when there were problems, when it was brought to the commission. But what I'm seeing now is, and this started back when there were people not going to be appointed, is that it did such a good job that there are people that did not want it to do its job. For what reason? I don't think we had a problem until Latrice's problem or issue came up. And we were all dismissed because we did not do what one person wanted done. Now, I look at each one of you and I say, what and why are they trying so hard to break up? Is it just process? Or you want the process to be right? Or do you have some other issue that you're dealing with? I question why any of us want to be on this commission.
I think we all want I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
I don't think that the commission was having issues. It was based on something else, totally had nothing to do with this. So I had to question why these people want to be on the commission, why you want to be on the commission, and they're fighting so hard. Now, I have a problem what I've been watching, because if we're all for the commission as it was and it was working, then why are we changing it? And that's the first thing I asked in my time here when the mayor, and I'm a friend with Frank, he said, I don't want you on the commission. Couldn't give me a reason why. I said, you're doing a great job. You've done a great job. Why is there a push to change a commission that had been doing so well? I think each and every one of us, if we look deep into our hearts, know why. We know why this came about. That's why we're at a stalemate. Because there are people here that, for whatever reason, think that a change is necessary to change something
that was working, and I mean, you have to look at the record, look at the file cases. It has nothing to do with how well the job was being done. Has anyone went back and asked to look at the past to see what has been done here? I don't think so. I know what is being done. I know the battles that civil rights has been fighting against, underfunding, you name it, because when you're doing something efficiently, people in this situation, they want change. That's why we're where we're at right now. I can't climb into each one of you's mind and find out, why do you want it changed? Just because you were appointed? There is really a continuation of something that has nothing to do with this commission and how well the job was being done. We're getting stuck on a point that is really, to me, it's irrelevant. All the other stuff was going on. I could not make decisions based on who I like or don't like. It has something to do with who is right and who is wrong. To me, being appointed is not in itself a good reason to be here. Civil rights in our community definitely need civil rights. But we also have to understand, and I don't think for some reason it's getting there, that we're very fortunate to have a civil rights over the years that has worked very well until one thing happened. And when that thing happened, it seemed, and I don't just look at that one person and say that he did wrong in dismissing. I look at the
City council.
City council, because I know 4 or 5 people on there personally, and they know what type of person I am. But yet they voted for something because of a person, which I think is wrong. So I wanted to make sure you understand. You've seen me sitting here and being quiet for weeks now. And I've been looking at each and every one of us, and I'm saying, what is the motive for this? Why would they let something that has worked so well over the years, that is definitely needed, that is being attacked by different type of entities, whether we're talking nationally, whether we're talking locally, anytime you're doing a good job and people want to bring about change at all costs. But I don't think that's what's going on here. I think what's going on here is, and I separated myself from that situation with her in the sense that I could have made a decision, and each and every one of us could have made a decision not to have Latrice here, get rid of her. But we owe her the opportunity and the right to go through the process and not make that type of decision. And what was more important to me, what would it do to civil rights? Because I've seen the job that she's done, and I've been here with many lawyers, at least 3 of them anyway. And when it comes to the law and dealing with this, she has done a great job by civil rights. That has nothing to do with the personal situation. So I would like you to look at yourself and question, why are you doing this? I know you were appointed, but what was the objective in appointing you? And what is it going to do? This is what concerns me the most. What is it going to do to civil rights? we've already delayed cases that should have been taken care of. And it's definitely going to have an effect on those cases. It's not very often that we have somebody that has the type of insight to get it done, and we have, as civil rights, have got it done with the people that we have. It doesn't say that you couldn't do it, but what's the motive for replacing what we have? You got to look at that. And if you're not looking at that, I don't think you're being honest with yourself or the community. So I just wanted to mention that.
Well, thank you,
So-
Clyde. And I would say, before you got here, we did make it clear that we're all here because we believe deeply in civil rights and the right of the people of the city of Davenport to have a fully functioning civil rights commission. I think that's the motivation. I think I speak for everybody here, that that's all any of us care about. I am not here to scheme. I am not here to be schemed against. I have looked into my soul. It was a hard decision for all of us to say that we would come to this commission knowing what kind of a state it's in. I think our hope is that we can work and do the work of this commission. Maybe that won't be possible, but certainly that is our fervent desire. And nobody here, believe you me, is on a power trip or wants to undo the glorious history of this commission. Rather, we would like to continue it.
Well, my question would be, how did this start, this process, and what's the motivation for it? And if you don't see that, then I don't think you really have a true vision of what's going on. And I've been here long enough to see it. And I've just never seen anything like this.
Well, I think it's terrible what's happened, but, are we going to ever be able to get redress for what some people believe was a grievous wrong? I don't see how that's ever going to happen.
What was the grievous wrong?
Well,
if I
you
may
seem to
ask?
think there was a grievous wrong. That's what you seem to be saying.
I'm saying there's a reason why all this has happened, and it has nothing to do with the commission, because this commission was one of the best ran commissions in the state of Iowa. Why change a good thing if it's working?
And we all want to get back to that. We all want to get back to that. That's what we want. The people of Davenport deserve it. Do they not?
I don't disagree with you. My problem is it shouldn't have begun to begin with, because it was working.
Well, it has
Civil
happened.
Rights Commission was working.
It has happened. Here
But you
we
gotta
are.
take that in consideration. You can't just ignore why this has happened.
I think the question is, how do we move forward? We're
Yes,
here.
yes.
We can't, we all came after that. And so what do we do what do we do with us from now on? Because we can't change anything that happened in the past. So what do we do for us to move on?
I
to
think
get
he
to that.
mentioned it. I think the city can make a difference
Yeah.
by going forward and making the decision. It's an easy thing, but for whatever reason, they may not want to.
No.
I think,
Well, and I'm sorry, I'm back to, and I know there's a motion and a second on the floor, and we are in discussion, and it hasn't been particularly apposite to that motion or second, but I guess after we finish that, let's talk more about the way forward. So is there any further discussion on the motion?
Let's hear the motion again. I mean, we've
Yeah.
gone such a long direction.
As I
here.
understand the motion, it was to complete the election of
election
officers.
officers.
Complete the election.
And that's been seconded, we've had discussion. Any further discussion on that motion?
Janelle, I don't think we ever called the meeting to order.
Call the question.
She did earlier.
No, she didn't.
Call
You
the
have to
meeting
do roll
order.
call,
It was
like
never called.
you follow the agenda.
Well, if everybody else here says, no, there's no.
Oh,
Well, I call the meeting to order.
Okay.
At what time?
And we elected you.
No, we're
No,
starting over.
We just started, we just
I'm
called
calling
the meeting
to
because it was never
order.
called
I
to
would
order.
entertain
We
a
just started
motion.
yelling.
I move we again elect officers.
You got to call the meeting
Second.
order first.
Hey, Bob,
Any further discussion?
this is Susie. I am.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Could you, knock on the
I move
entertain-
that we elect Janelle chairman of the commission.
I second.
Any further discussion?
Oh, I'm sure they won't care.
Could
All
I
those
ask
in
one
favor?
question?
Aye.
I'm sorry.
No, where are your other members? You're supposed to have at least 7 members, right? You got 5 here. Do you
Yeah.
have 2 other members, or it's just 5 members period?
I think we have
There are
6.
6 members.
We have
Who's
six.
6? Who's number 6?
The lady who moved away.
No.
No, no,
it's
No.
Randy Moore.
Randy Moore.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I thought he said he
Once again, I'm gonna raise the point that,
Because he said
Lee
he
here,
walked away.
I'm gonna raise the point again that Lee here was president, let's see, this was July 9th meeting. But if you read the new business, it says that you guys were not sure if Michael Lando, Linda Gilman, Ruby Mateos, and Erie Johnson could make a quorum, not including him, which means that he was not acting as a commissioner, which means he cannot all of a sudden, a year later, be like, hey, I'm gonna be a commissioner
Okay.
today.
All in favor?
So I'm gonna go
favor
ahead and
of the
say that I'm
motion
thinking this meeting's probably,
elect you as
He's
Yeah.
screaming down there.
I'm gonna assume this
Aye.
meeting is probably illegal and I have to go back to work since they just
Aye.
called it
Those
into
opposed?
order an hour and 20 minutes
Right.
after we got here.
Okay.
So you all let me down.
Aye. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would entertain a motion for vice president.
I nominate Henry.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna go.
I
Any
second.
other? Somebody needs to be taking this down.
If I might say something, please. It was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
I
We
have
all
to
care
leave.
about the same things.
Yeah, we're all butting our heads against a brick
Yes,
wall, I'm
yes,
afraid, and,
yes.
and I agree, we're all here for the right reason. I think when Mr. Mattson gets named mayor, hopefully like Mr. Gaston says, we can get moving forward and get this taken care of.
Hopefully so. Thank you.
So, thank you, it was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
Okay,
Thank you.
Gumbo.
See you next time,
So,
Susan.
Okay.
all those
Now,
in
look
favor?
around, 'cause we don't
Aye.
know what's, I still don't know for sure what's
Those
going on.
opposed? I would entertain a motion for secretary if we feel that's
Ruby
appropriate.
Mateos.
Are you willing, Ruby?
Sure.
Thank you. Is there a
I
second?
second that.
Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So we have me chair, Henry vice chair, Ruby secretary. Any other officers that we need?
That's all
think so.
there is, 3.
Yeah.
If you all are still.
So I think that the roll doesn't need to be called, because I think we've got the 5 of us here. Henry Karp, Ruby Mateos, Lee Gaston, Richard Pecora, and Janelle Swanberg. Randy Moore is absent. I guess we have no idea whether he intends to participate or perhaps quit. I don't know.
And I think the first 3 goes back to your point of the commission doesn't get to decide who the members are. So if they are saying they're not vacating their position, I don't know how the commissioners would determine that he is a commissioner versus them being commissioners.
Well, but I guess the point is, we have at least 4 newly appointed
But I think
Yeah,
commissioners.
but could he
Nicole
vote?
is-
Could he vote?
Well,
Can you actually vote?
Even without his vote, we've got a quorum and we've got a majority.
But that goes
No,
back
you have to have
Nicole's
5
issue
for-
No, you
of
don't.
there not being a vacancy to even appoint.
When did that
somebody.
change?
No, you don't.
So,
When did
Now
that
you're
change?
questioning our appointments?
well, so Nicole's.
Oh, no, I'm not questioning your
First round of
appointment.
the 4 appointments.
I
Nicole's
guess I
term
still
has
don't
ended.
understand, why would the mayor, like, what,
Right.
2
She asked for
years ago, he
station
called me and
again.
asked me, did
Right,
I
but that
want to
goes
be
back to
a
the
commissioner?
same issue that they had, which was.
What is going
they
on
felt
here?
They could hold over, and that's what she said.
I said
That-
yes.
That does, I don't give that any credence at all. That's just.
But that
that's-
goes back
yeah,
to-
that's
Well,
just-
See, that's
Well,
what,
just
that's what,
forward,
that-
since
that
she
goes
needs to
back
take.
Yeah,
direction
I'm-
from us.
So we've done the roll call, I guess we know, and so we can, as far as I'm concerned, we continue to do business here. We can approve the
Okay.
minutes and we can we can go on.
I move we
So are
approve
we
the
having-
minutes.
Now, I have some questions about the minutes. It appeared, now this is the July 9th minutes. There's no indication who presided. Is that a known thing?
It should be Michael Leando.
Okay, so maybe that should be added?
That's never usually in the minutes.
I mean, I've seen lots of minutes that include who presided.
For the commission?
Yeah.
The chairperson.
I also note that Lee Gaston is listed twice. One says a commissioner and one says an other commissioner, so I guess that proves you're a commissioner because you were listed as commissioner. So Lee, one of Lee's names should be deleted, it would seem.
Commissioner,
Where is that?
I don't know.
Oh,
In the minutes.
who's he listed?
So, and it doesn't list who was absent, as oftentimes has been done. Perhaps that should be done. In the approval of the minutes, it says Susan Greenwald made the motion to approve the agenda. Does that mean the minutes?
No,
It's the agenda.
the agenda.
Well, the agenda had already been approved, and then we're looking at approval of minutes near the bottom of the page. And it says Susie Greenwald made the motion to approve the agenda. I think that should say minutes, since it's in the approval of minutes section.
Oh, I got you.
It says,
An approval of
It was,
minutes.
she down it.
So I think that's
She
just
typed
a,
in agenda instead.
That's
That
the
should
wrong
say
word.
minutes.
yeah. And for some reason, there was no director's report.
where is that?
It's not available.
In the middle of the second page.
Right,
There's just probably nothing added there, but there is a director's report attached.
So, yeah, here's all of
So,
it.
so it should cite to the written report.
This
Yeah.
is all comes to the
Usually.
director's report.
But I mean,
All
was
the
it
stuff
taken up at the July meeting?
I presume, yeah.
Well, then, well, it's blank. It shouldn't be blank.
We don't take the minutes, so that was from the secretary. So there is a director's report attached, so maybe he
Yeah.
just didn't attach anything.
Okay. So who makes the changes to the minutes before we approve them?
The secretary.
Okay, so Ruby, can you do that? Thanks. So do we want to approve them subject to these changes, or wait until they're changed and bring them back? Time is not of the essence, I would say, since they're the July minutes.
Let's just wait until. they
Okay.
come
Bring
back.
it back.
Yeah, thank you. So, director's report, I mean, I assume, do you want to discuss your reports, or are we just referring to the written reports?
No, we go over them. So do we want to go back
Yeah.
through?
Sure.
do- Are we skipping over the introduction of commissioners?
In the interest of time, do we
Yeah.
want to waive? We did
Well,
introduce
no, I-
ourselves.
No. I mean,
We can take the time. I'm Janelle Swanberg. I'm at this commission.
Swanberg?
Swanberg, yes. Swanberg. I spent the last 39 years of my life as a legal aid lawyer. I represented low-income people in all manner of civil law, mostly survivors of domestic violence, tenants, employed people who were, wrongfully terminated, who were wrongfully disciplined,
I was going to say, there's
people getting their utilities shut off. I mean, all the things that you can imagine befall low-income people in our community. I would say that a disproportionate number of my clients were members of protected classes. That's why I think I have a kind of a heightened sensitivity for some of the problems that our community members face. And I think that shows my commitment to civil rights and to the rights of poor people, and that's why I'm here. Richard.
Usually, they explain any sort of civil rights experience they have as far as which areas of the law they would know and would need additional information on.
Oh, I need information on all of it.
Okay, so no civil rights experience?
Well, I have never been on a civil rights commission, and I want to be oriented in the law as pertains to that. I would welcome that, thank you. Richard?
Richard Pecora, for many years, 40 years, pastor of Redeemer Lutheran Church, and presently an interim pastor within the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America.
Evangelical?
Sorry about that. I didn't catch it, but
Oh, okay.
Any civil rights experience?
Yeah, I was on a civil rights commission previously in Bettendorf when I lived in that community.
So, are there any areas of the civil rights law that you need additional?
I'll take any advice and instruction I can receive.
Do you have any expertise in any of the areas?
I am coming
Why
up.
are we're making
I think,
introductions here.
yeah, I think we all want it all. Yeah, I think we need to schedule an orientation that we could all attend.
But
That would be
doesn't-
comprehensive.
Well, that won't explain civil rights. That won't give you the knowledge necessary to make a decision on cases. So I try to figure out what people know and what they don't know so that I'm not giving.
Well,
That's usually what's explained.
We're just doing
in the
introductions here,
portion.
and we can discuss more of that at the orientation if you'd like it then.
Well,
Okay.
well, I mean, that's just the way it's usually done, that the new commissioners explain what civil rights experience or knowledge they have.
I don't remember doing that last time.
Lee?
I did ask you all, Ruby.
Lee Gaston, you've all had a chance to read about me in the paper from time to time over the last year.
Nobody cares.
I have worked in government for the state of California. I spent 21 years in banking in Chicago. In that time, I became involved in disability concerns, specifically around the subject of epilepsy, when my oldest daughter suffered from seizures when she was young. Provided some volunteer leadership in that area. In the Chicago area, I then came to the Quad Cities when I made a decision to leave banking and go into not-for-profit services using my financial background. I served 6 years as CFO for the Scott County Family Law, which is where I became acquainted with Mayor Klipsch. Subsequently, I then served as CFO for the Epilepsy Foundation of America, and I now serve part-time as the finance director for CASI, the senior center here in Davenport that provides community center advocacy services and adult daycare for persons with dementia. I've had a long-term non-professional interest in the subject of civil rights in the United States from a political perspective. I do not consider myself a legal expert on the subject of civil rights, but I do have a long-term interest in the cause, and I'm eager to see this particular problem get resolved so we can get back to doing what needs to be done for people in the city of Davenport.
Thank you. Henry?
I am Henry Karp. I am Rabbi Emeritus of Temple Emmanuel. I served Temple Emmanuel for 32 years before I retired on July 1st of 2017. I have been a very active worker for issues of social justice in this community. I am co-founder of One Human Family. I was in the founding of Coats for Kids and in the founding of In From the Cold. I have done many other projects such as the running the Burn Churches Fund when African American churches in the South were being burned, and we raised funds to rebuild those churches. I've served on the board of United Way. I've served as president of Vera French Mental Health Center board. I have no legal training. I can read, and I think I can understand what I read to a greater or lesser extent as someone with a postgraduate education, but I have never served on a civil rights commission until now, and I am eager to learn what the law is involving the various cases that we deal with.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Ruby Mateos. I won't make mine long. My background is in government and higher education. I've worked in the field of, nonprofit world, health law, public policy, government advocacy, and as everybody else here, I look forward to move this commission along to serve the city of Davenport, because I think ultimately that's what we want to do.
So, can I just ask, what areas of government and what education?
My background is in business, public health, and health law.
Uh-huh.
I've worked in, state government.
In Illinois or Iowa?
California.
Another California connection, yeah.
Hmm. And what was the other question?
Oh, I'm just
the
curious.
field of health law.
Yeah.
Is actually my focus.
Okay. Well, it's an
Tell
interesting
her
time
about
for that.
your education there.
Yeah. So I went to Loyola University of Chicago, and I've worked a lot in, creating health policy, state level or local level. I've had several, years of experience working with a lot of elected officials, in my previous life.
Uh-huh. And are you a lawyer?
I do not have a license, but so I don't practice.
Okay.
But I fortunately graduated law school.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. No, practice isn't for everybody. I went to law school with a lot of people who didn't practice. It's not for everybody.
Yeah, my kids are priority. So.
Yes, as they should be. Yeah.
Quiet. You gonna introduce yourself?
Oh, I thought it was for those folks.
They all knew us, they didn't like us.
We like you all. We're all in the same. We're all in the same. Cause.
As you know, my name is Clyde Mayfield. I'm a longtime participant in the community. I've grown up here. All my education has been here. Graduated from St. Ambrose. Criminal justice was my major. But I think more important than that is my experience. I've devoted myself to staying in the community, working with the community, helping others that are less fortunate than myself. I'm not going to sit here and tell you all the organizations that I've belonged to or participated in, because it'd be a mile long. But if you've been here any time at all, you probably know me. Just recently closed a business, Greatest Grains. I'm on the school board right now. That is my primary focus, is realizing that education is one of the most important keys to helping people help themselves. And more information you know, which means sometimes more education, then the better you can help other people. And again, it helps people help themselves. I've been on the commission for 12 years, and I felt that the many injustices that I see in the community, being on civil rights is one of the ways to help justify trying to help people. So.
And we miss Greatest Grains every day.
Yeah.
Thank you for being.
I miss it too, not enough to want to do it anymore.
But thank you for being really, the heart of that neighborhood for so many years and such a powerful influence. It was a beautiful thing. And thank you for that. Sorry it's over. But you.
No, that's not sorry.
You have to be, you
That
have
was
to
by-
feel.
It was by choice.
You have to feel good
40
about
years,
what you
yeah.
did, and I hope that brings you.
Well, I'm still doing.
Well, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Not to say anything's over, but we miss Greatest Grains. So thanks to you,
Good.
Julie, for that.
Hello, my name is Helen Robertson. I'm originally from North Carolina, but I've been living here in the Quad Cities, well, here in Davenport, since 1978. Civil rights is something I've always been interested in. I've always been very close to stuff that I have to work with. Like, he's on the school board now. My husband's on the school board for 11 years, so that was just like me being on the school board. I work with that education and stuff like that. I do a lot of volunteer. That's how I ended up on the Civil Rights Commission. And like I said, I'm originally from North Carolina. I was born in that era where civil rights was, I'm 72, so that, not a good thing. It wasn't. And,
Still no.
no.
No, that's right.
And I thought, I love being on the Civil Rights Commission because I felt like I was helping the community. I'll admit I was not happy the way that it was just, you're just not there anymore. You don't count anymore. It was like, we can't depend on you to help the people, and I didn't feel it was that. I didn't feel that that was fair, but I'm willing to wait, like you said, to see just how it goes, and then just let it go forward. Whatever happens, let it go forward. Because I'm tired of the bickering. I'm tired of not really knowing. I know the vote and everything was taken today and everything, not really knowing where you stand. But that's me.
Thank you. Latrice, do you want to say anything?
I'm Latrice, obviously. I'm the director here. I think mostly everybody knows me, but I serve as the commission's counsel and the director, so managing the office and kind of acting as the liaison to the commission. So generally, does everybody know what our office does, or should I go over that aspect of it?
Well, I guess in the interest of time, it seems to me to make sense to have an initiation meeting. Do you agree?
Yeah, we usually do a training after the first meeting.
Yes. And about how long does that usually take?
It depends.
whole
We have some
meeting.
commissioners who have a special interest in certain areas of law,
Sure.
so we meet
Sure.
to go over that and have a more in-depth discussion. If there's just a general discussion of what we do and the person already knows what it is that we do, it probably isn't that long, but with no knowledge of what we do or how the process works, it might be a longer meeting.
So half a day?
I don't think it'll be that long.
Okay.
Depending on
But
the
2 or
questions.
3 hours maybe? Yeah. Do we want to schedule a time for that now? Would that be possible? Any suggestions? Do we want to do it yet this year? Next week?
Well, yeah, I'm leaving on Monday, and we'll be back on Monday the 16th, and be back on the 26th. So it would have to be the week between Christmas and New Year's, or after.
Or next week? Or you're leaving Monday?
I'm leaving
Coming Monday, okay. And this week is probably,
Well, this week is.
Why don't we schedule it in the new year?
okay.
Yeah.
So,
It's the 14th.
the 14th would be our next meeting, but we're talking about the
Training?
orientation, which
Why don't we just do it all on one day?
Well, and my problem is, I would rather not meet on the 14th. The 14th is my father's 99th birthday.
So how about the 13th?
What, we're in January now?
Yeah.
In January, what about the 13th?
It would be better to do it, he's so far away that I will be up there from the 12th through the 14th.
So how about either the 9th or the 10th?
Yeah.
What's the 9th and the 10th?
The 9th is Thursday, 10th is a Friday.
9th, second Thursday. Why not the 10th on Friday in the morning at 9 o'clock?
Does that work for people?
I'm just throwing it out.
Works for me.
Did you say you were gonna be gone on the 10th of January?
No, I'm gonna be gone the 12th through the 14th, and really the 15th would be The day I'd be driving
You said
back.
the 12th or the 14th, because the
So you're gonna
14th would
be-
be the regularly
I
scheduled
know,
meeting.
I know. So I'm hoping we can change that
Yeah,
as
okay.
well, if that's possible.
It will need to be noted on the website then, because it's listed as a standard.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what did they have?
So what time are we talking about on the 10th?
9 o'clock on the 10th.
Can we meet somewhere else instead of here? At the
Can we
police
meet at the
department?
police department?
What if they keep me in the police department?
For the training,
Mm-hmm. Or,
why would we meet there?
That's a
That's where they want us to meet.
bigger.
Who
Who
wants us
wants
to
to
meet?
meet?
Every other commission meets there or in city council chambers.
The commission
being
decides
remodeled right
where
now.
it would have a
that's
meeting.
what we're trying to do.
But this is
That's
not,
what we're trying to do.
is this a public meeting or is this a training?
No, this is just a training, so is this room
Oh, this
okay
is
for the
just a
training?
I think this room is fine for the
Okay.
training.
Yeah, I mean, you're at.
And I think that there needs to
Civil
be a
rights training, you're at
consideration
the
of
Civil Rights
the
Building.
people who utilize the services of the commission and whether or not they feel comfortable going to the police station. I realize you all may not have a problem with going to the police station for a meeting, but the people served by this commission might, and that might not be a comfortable place for them to meet. And I
Well,
think
yeah.
there
And of
needs to
course,
be
you all are
consideration.
blind to that because you shouldn't even be on the damn commission, man. This whole thing is just a joke. Y'all are a joke.
Don't point your finger.
Joke. Fuck this.
The council chambers should be done being remodeled by the 7th of January, so
But-
that'd be all.
Oh, so
But
we can-
again, that would be a
Well, we would
decision
meet
for
in
the
this room
commission to
anyway,
make,
right?
not at the discretion of the city's attorney. So that goes
I'm
back
just
to
giving you
the,
Well, that's what we're
information.
discussing.
right,
So-
but that goes
To
back
you.
to the city attorney directing the action.
So my
of the
understanding
commission.
If
is
you
that-
remember, Latrice, I'm sorry, when I first came on board, I've already requested from the very first meeting to move the meeting to the chambers.
But you're an individual person, so the
No,
commission has to
we
decide.
did that as a commission.
No, the commission did not decide that.
Well, why would we move it to the, why wouldn't we just have it right here
There was
in the
no
Civil
vote
Rights
taken on that. That
Office
was
building?
not-
Why would we go
Okay,
over there?
so January 10th will be the orientation at 9 o'clock here.
Here, in this room.
It's not a public meeting, it's just an orientation training.
It would need to be open to the public, I think.
No, I think training should be just us.
Because I don't
Yeah.
think-
It's a closed
well,
meeting.
But I don't think we can close the meeting legally.
It's
under
not a
state
meeting.
law.
No, you just close
It's not
It's
a
not a
meeting.
meeting.
It's a
There's gonna be
training.
no acting.
Yeah, you just
It's a
close the door
training.
like we always
So I
do.
defer to our city council on whether that's the
Ask your
case.
staff first.
What?
Is it a meeting or is it a training?
The training.
No business is gonna be conducted at that meeting, at that training. I'm sorry.
Latrice?
And I think it's only 3 people, right? So
Yeah,
it would be.
there's.
I guess it's whoever wants to be here. If anybody feels they want a
then it might-
refresher, I mean, but there's not gonna be any business transacted.
No.
No. So is it a
Okay.
meeting?
I don't
Business-
object
I
to
don't-
that.
I think as long as there's nothing
Just want to be
discussed.
sure we're careful.
No business transacted, okay. So then when will we have the next regular meeting?
It's the second Tuesday. Is it always the second Tuesday?
Is there a
of the month?
reason why it wouldn't be the second Tuesday?
Well, I'm asking that it be moved, or maybe it can't be, I don't know.
Should, okay.
I mean,
Should
would that
there
be a
be
big,
a-
would that be a big hassle?
I think that people think it's the second Tuesday, so that's when everybody is made aware that that is a standing meeting.
Yeah.
And so meetings outside, that would be a special meeting, but,
But if we,
I think that the.
What if the
there's-
second-
Where else you can have it at what time, because other people use other offices here.
What
This
would
one is
happen?
ours.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, I can certainly miss a meeting, I mean, I hate to do that, but
Well,
this is,
I
family
do-
comes first.
Or you participate via telephone.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
But what if the second Tuesday was Christmas? Let's say December 25th fell on the second Tuesday. What would, the commission wouldn't meet on that second Tuesday, would reschedule for another time.
Yeah, but it's
Right.
not gonna happen every year.
It probably never happens because it's Tuesday early in the month.
Yeah.
So it would never be
Yeah.
Christmas,
That'd
it would
be
never
25th,
be
yeah, it wouldn't.
Thanksgiving, it would never be Easter. It probably never, that's probably why they chose it.
Yeah.
Do we want to have a meeting with the new mayor and potentially council before that?
Well, let's deal with one thing at a time, I guess.
So,
Okay, well, we're scheduling the meeting.
Well, we're talking about the next regular meeting. So if it's just better, I'll participate by phone and it can be on the 14th.
Yeah, that
Okay.
happens. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
that's
keep
fine.
it,
Okay.
keep it the 14th
Um,
then.
And so is there anything that we want to have on the agenda at that meeting that we want to list now?
Well, I think we should The issue has been appointing a committee to explore bylaws we talked about having bylaws that would answer many of the questions that have been raised, and so I would propose that we have a discussion of that.
The commission would have administrative rules. The bylaws would be like an ordinance. So we already have an ordinance and that's done by council. So the commission would enact administrative rules, which they've already drafted. They just have to be approved.
There are rules? Can we see them?
They
Are
have
they,
to
are
be
they in our
approved.
packet for today?
They're not approved, so they're not enacted. So there has to be public hearings and such on that. administrative
And they're
rules.
enacted by this body?
Yes.
Can we see those, like, at the training? That'd be great. Thanks.
Or before that, can we get
Before that,
email?
yes, email them
And
to
then
us
we
so
get
we
a
can.
chance to review.
Yeah, but remember, at the training meeting, we will not be discussing
Yeah, no, that's.
any.
No business.
So they have,
No business.
they were approved by the previous commission. Then we had to send them to HUD to have them approved by HUD and EEOC. So that came back, and then we have all this controversy with who is actually a commission. And I think that there needs to be clarity on who actually is on the commission before we can implement rulemaking. So-
Well, we might as well look at them and,
I mean, yeah, you can look at them, but I
hope
think
for the
prior
best,
to
I guess,
voting on
right?
that.
I would suggest, though, that we do move the general meetings to the city council chamber. I think it's more hospitable to the community, for people in the, I mean, we've had people in the, from the community sitting over there where we can't even see them, so that's, it's more welcoming location for the community
And
to
that's
come
not-
and to attend.
I think that would be on the agenda, and it is not on the agenda to move the commission meetings.
I think we can meet
It's-
wherever we decide. I
it's
don't know, it
been
has to
on
be
I don't
on the
think it has to
agenda.
be, yeah.
But it's in the commission has standing meetings, and it specifically says that the meetings are in the Civil Rights Conference Room, so that's.
But if it's
both in
for
the-
January, we should have way enough time to inform the public of where the meeting's
Right, but
going
that
to
would
be.
be a decision made by the commission of where the standing meetings are and when they're going to be, so that would be something that would be decided on the agenda.
Okay,
Well,
fine,
but
let's have that
we're
on the agenda.
The agenda item here has, deals with next meeting.
Next meeting.
And that's what we're discussing, next
Yeah.
meeting.
How would
We're
it-
discussing the date, the
I move
time.
that we have it
Yeah.
as you
It
suggested
would
at the
drop
next
down
meeting.
to next meeting?
And our next meeting should be second Tuesday, what?
I don't know. I mean, are we
would
just
still
not
be the
following the
same
agenda, or
Tuesday.
how?
The
It would
the
still be the
agenda is
14th.
it's a long agenda. And
It
we've
is.
spent a lot of time, dealing with other issues, so we weren't able to cover all the items on the agenda, but we have to cover the item of next meeting. We can't
So are
not
we-
have a next meeting
Are
not
we
dealt with.
Are we skipping everything else then and going to,
Well, it's almost 2:00.
Yeah.
okay. So are we
And our
skipping
meetings
that, or-
usually just.
Well, is there anything else that anybody feels is something that we are capable of addressing now or that we need to address now?
Now, I made a motion that we have our meeting as Henry suggested.
And there's some controversy about whether that is something that needs to be on the agenda as
It
a
says next
vote.
meeting, and I say the place is next meeting.
If I review the agendas that I've had electronically, I swear to you, I've had that in the new business area for quite some time. And because we've had this mess, we never got to moving the meeting over there,
Right,
which
but that would be voted on to change the meeting structure, but,
Do you second my motion?
second.
Can we put it on the agenda next month as meeting place? So everyone will have notice of it. It's not gonna be
Yeah.
a big deal, it's one meeting.
Okay.
And then we can, and so can you put it on the agenda, please, Latrice, as meeting place?
Discussion of
Yes.
Meeting location.
location of meetings.
Yes. And the other matters will remain on the agenda as they now appear. Does anybody have anything else they want to add? Anything else for the good of the order? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
What time is it?
So moved.
Lee
1:52.
moves. Second?
I second.
Thanks, Ruby. Discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you all. Thank you all. We will get through this. We will do this. We will. We can do it. We're good people. We can do it. Ruby, do you feel that you have enough to put minutes together for this meeting?
Yeah, I usually, I know one of the staff would email, like a preliminary, like an initial minutes.
I didn't
And
say
then
anything,
Erie
but
Johnson back
confidentiality
then
and
would just review it.
Okay, and
address
who was that?
address over there.
It would come from her
That should be
office.
number one.
It should be.
And did she ever have anybody else
This is
here?
determined.
Somebody called
That's
Beth.
such
Did she
a
have Beth
wide
here? But see, Beth
range.
wasn't here today.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
that's why this
so-
was so
but,
important.
yeah, I'll,
to be
I guess
involved.
the other thing we could, you can certainly ask Latrice if she can have Beth here.
yeah.
I mean, Latrice, would it be okay to have Beth here to take notes and then?
Beth doesn't take minutes, one of the commissioners does,
commissioner-
whoever the secretary.
Okay.
is,
Secretary
that's who
takes the minutes.
So Beth hasn't done that in the past?
No.
No, I was
Secretary.
the secretary before, so I took the minutes, and then there was
Keep the
somebody
record.
before me.
And there's no
Judy.
format that.
Yeah, there was a format. Beth types it up. And she has.
Okay.
Beth types it
She
out.
has,
Okay.
she has to type it up according to the city's,
We use
the
the
way
same
the.
structure.
Use a
Okay.
template.
You type
All
up-
right.
You
So
don't
Beth
send the
gets it-
handwritten notes, you type up what happened and you
Okay.
send it to Beth. and Beth
Usually.
I type up the notes, send them to Beth, and then she does what she does with them and send them out to the commission.
Okay.
Because I don't send them, I didn't send them to the commissioners, I had to
If
send them
anybody
to
has a
her
question, if they.
or.
Well, that's true.
Approval or
And it's, yeah, like Lee's just saying, there's the video. So if you have a question about
Oh, yeah, that's true
what
too.
happened, there
If
is
you
a
have a
record.
stomach
Can we
to
get
go
that?
through it, you-
I know.
It'll be up on.
It's on the
YouTube.
website. It's on the website.
3 days. usually.
3 days.
Yeah.
Give you a ring?
And then it'll feel like 3 days. If you-
Janelle says that, yeah, she looked at the video of the last
Okay.
meeting, she couldn't hear
The audio is sometimes a problem.
That's-
It speaks very softly, so
Well,
Yeah.
I've got this email,
it's hard to hear.
city email, but I guess,
Oh,
Yeah,
for
I do.
those
Yeah.
of you who want help with your city email, I believe I have IT waiting for
I
you.
enjoyed
oh,
listening.
thank
Oh,
you.
great, thank you.
Mine was connected to
it.
my phone and then it got disconnected.
I brought my
IT upstairs?
laptop
If you could text me
specifically
the
for
upstairs.
that purpose.
I'll go grab them real quick.
Oh,
See if
okay.
they're
Thank you. When there's
Okay.
no problem to begin with.
So,
It was
where are we
clean.
going?
IT's coming down here. If you need help.
Yeah, I was so,
Yeah, I've had it connected and then all of a sudden it started saying, you need to.
you're not
No, we can't
authorized to
move on.
use
It
this
still
email.
exists.
That's what it said to me.